what's up, s'mores? I'm Shannon Morse. Welcome to Morse Code and welcome to my home studio. Suki, what are you doing? Troublemaker. She's a little troublemaker. So today is a really exciting episode because the construction is officially complete. We had the city come in and do a inspection, so they signed off on the construction and I paid the contractor and he's gone. So now is on to the next part, which is the part I have been excited about for months and months and months. And that is when I actually get to start setting up the studio. So today's video is just a little bit of an overview of what's going on this week as far as what's being installed and what I am doing and what I am working on. I also wanted to take a chance and answer some of the questions that I saw on my previous videos that I have been posting. They are a little bit behind schedule as compared to the actual reality of when this is getting done, but a lot of that is because I know it's going to take me probably a week to get this set up, and I didn't want to leave y'all hanging without any videos on YouTube. So you will keep on getting videos, even though I'm probably going to have to take about a week off in order to get this place in order. So first, I know I did have a lot of questions and a lot of recommendations as far as things are concerned when the building process was underway. For example, when all you saw was the framing, I had a lot of questions about why the framing didn't go all the way down to the floor. The reason why is because this is called a floating slab and we have to have floating walls in the basement. So if you've never heard of that, I didn't hear about it either before I moved here to Colorado, so definitely Google it because there's plenty of good answers on the internet as far as why floating slabs and floating walls exist. But that is something that's really important for Colorado because of the nature of the soil here and how the foundations are built. So that's why we have the floating walls. Hello.
Hello.
Why do you have a bunch of Nerf guns?
It's for my armory.
Okay. So another question that I got was a bunch of recommendations and stuff about my networking closet, which as you can see is still not done. It's not going to be complete for a couple more episodes. I have to wait until I get everything down here and I'm able to unbox all the Ubiquity equipment before I'm able to set up that rack. So I think that's going to be its own episode, but I did want to answer some questions about the wiring and the cabling. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of people thought that I'm building a data center, which I'm not. I'm building a 15U rack and that's it. And it's not going to be full. It's only going to have a few things on it, like a couple of network attached servers, Synologies. I'm going to have a switch for all of my Ethernet cables. And then I'm probably going to have like a couple of different routers set up around the room and around the house for different wireless access points. And I will have different LANs and different WANs set up for all of my different products. So for example, one of the things that we have in the house is lots of IoT equipment, and all of that stuff is kind of cordoned off into its own wireless access network. But yeah, this is my networking closet. I don't have room to build a data center. It's not going to be a server farm. I'm not going to be mining Bitcoin. I'm not going to be running a bunch of virtual servers or anything like that. It's going to be a pretty simplistic scenario. So I realize that a lot of people out there who watch my videos work in corporate data centers, or you set up IT networking stations for really big businesses and enterprises. And this is definitely not that. I feel like my setup is going to be rather simplistic compared to what a lot of y'all are probably really familiar with. And I do really appreciate all of the comments that I got, but I think a lot of them were overkill for what I really need. So for example, I think a lot of people just assume that I have like an unlimited budget, which I don't. This is a very, very expensive build getting my entire basement finished. So that's why I have this, which is Cat 6A. I did not go with Cat 7 or Cat 8. I also didn't go with the coax because it's a home first and it's a studio as well. It's not going to be an IT data center. So I really don't need the setup with coax because I feel like that future-proofing is not necessarily something that I'm going to need. Another question I got was about the zip ties. So we did remove the zip ties before the drywall went up. As you can see, there's no zip ties here. There are zip ties on the original ones that came with the house, and these are everywhere. There was no way I could remove them all, so I just left those on there as they came with the home. But all the blue ones, we did take those off after we plugged them in through all of the different nooks and crannies. And honestly, Zip ties saved me a ton of work because I had like 4 of these going to the same keystone and the same outlet. So it made it so much easier to run all 4 all together as opposed to having them end up in knots and everything. There were a few folks that recommended that I get cable trays, like cable trays that you would normally see in a enterprise environment, which would go on the ceiling. Or some other people recommended that I raise the floor. And I'm running 8 Ethernet cables, so I really feel like that would be overkill as well, given that this is a home. So I'm not doing that. I really appreciate the comments, but I'm not doing that. Some people recommended that I should have gotten like a 300-foot spool of Cat 6A and run that and then just terminated my own cables. But honestly, like, why? Why give myself more work when I could buy the correct length with additional slack that I needed to run to each of these keystones? Like, I just felt like it was so much easier to just get those. And yes, they are fire rated. Yes, they are shielded, so don't worry about that as well. I definitely wanted to mention that they were shielded because a lot of people were asking, why are you running them so close to power lines and stuff like that? They were right angled, which I was aware of when we installed them, so we definitely made everything a right angle, and they are shielded and they are fire rated for walls, so they are meant to go inside of walls. So all of that is totally up to par, and we did have the city inspector come in and check everything out before the walls went up, and everything passed, so we're perfectly fine there. But again, thank you so much for the comments. I really do appreciate it. I know a lot of people out there are professionals when it comes to like running data lines and everything like that, so I do really appreciate all the comments and suggestions that you gave me, but I did feel like some of them were overkill for what I'm doing here, which is a YouTube studio. It's not running an IT networking business. Isn't that right, Suki? So something else I wanted to mention to y'all before I show you what we've been doing this week is some of the things I've learned from working with a contractor. So one of the major things that I learned was write everything down, especially if you have a wish list and the whole process is going on and maybe your wish list changes over time, or maybe you want to add something or change something in the middle of the construction process. For example, one of the things that I really wanted was an actual like fan exhaust system going into the network closet, but for some reason there was a loss of communication there and it did not end up getting installed. So instead, after the drywall went up, I was like, oh, there's no exhaust, like what happened? So we had to end up with this exhaust instead, which is not a fan, but it's basically like an air access point on both sides. So that kind of worked out instead. Another note, after learning that I should write everything down because the contractor may forget about installing something, because contractors have tons of projects that they're working on. So they're not necessarily going to remember everything about your house, but going into this, I'd never worked with a contractor, so I assumed that it was like, you know, ordering food from a waitress, like they write everything down for you, but that didn't happen. So you're kind of, as a homeowner, in charge of making sure that everything is on your wish list and making sure that you're checking everything yourself. So you're kind of managing the entire process, which ends up being a pretty intense job as opposed to being fairly hands-off. I went into this thinking I could be somewhat hands-off, but it turns out like you are basically managing this project and making sure that everything is happening the way that you want it to happen. Another thing I learned is that guys who have access to your house can be kind of creepy. In fact, I had a pretty creepy experience with one of the subcontractors that worked for this company. And he ended up leaving the job about halfway through because I had to report him for unsolicited messages and images that he was sending my way. So I had to report him, unfortunately. So a different guy had to come in and finish the drywall after he had done like half of the job. And this guy was already extremely unreliable because he would say he was gonna show up, and he had my phone number because I had to unlock the door for him every morning. So he would say he was gonna show up and then he would never show up. And then I'd have to call the GC, the general contractor, and be like, hey, where's your drywall guy? Because he never showed up. And he'd be like, oh, he was supposed to be there today. So there was a lot of that unreliability when it came to getting the project done. I think part of that contributed to why this took so long, because there were a lot of delays. There were a lot of days when this project was just sitting here and nobody was working on it. So there was nobody in the basement for like 24 hours or for a full day during the weekday, and there was nothing getting done. But luckily, the days that they were here, they worked really hard. They got a lot of work done, even though I know that the company that I worked with, they were doing like 4 or 5 projects all at once across like several different cities, including here in Denver. So I know that they had a lot on their plate. So I am grateful that they were able to get it done, even though the time frame was about a month after my estimation. My estimation was like 2 to 3 weeks later than the contractor's estimate. So it was like a month and a half behind schedule from his estimate and about a month behind my estimate. I was told early on from a lot of people, like, expect delays with contractors, expect delays when you're doing like a finishing of your basement or whatever you're working on. And they were totally right. Like, that was absolutely something that I learned. What did you learn, Sookie? I learned that Sookie loves pretty much everybody. Like, she's more than happy to bark at a stranger if we don't expect them to be in the house. But if somebody is down here and we are talking to them, she just wants to be friends with them. And it is so cute. She's just adorable. So I should mention what we have been working on today, right, Sookie? We have been working on a lot of cleaning. I spent a day just cleaning up all the dust, and I had to mop and sweep, and oh my God, I mopped this floor like 3 times and there's still dust on it. It's so gross. It's so grody from all the construction. So I'm probably gonna have to run through here and clean it again. Like, look at that dust, it's so nasty. My cat is getting familiar with the area now that the construction folks are gone, so I'm pretty excited for her. Sookie really likes my new studio rug. So I just got this rug from Rugs USA, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think the color is really pretty. Just today, I tested some paint samples on the wall. I'm not gonna show you the finished product until you see me actually painting it on the wall, but these are the different colors that I'm looking at. I wanted to go with something that was kind of feminine and really spoke to my personality. I feel like even though I have a tech channel, which is, 95% male watching it, I wanted something that really brought out my feminine side. And I love these purple colors, kind of pinkish lavender hues. I thought they were so pretty, so I'm really excited to choose one. I know I said I was gonna go with gray, but I couldn't help myself, so I changed that one. Today, my amazing husband helped me hang my Auralex acoustic ceiling panels. These come with nice little cloud mounts that go in the 4 corners, which you can see here. You can see us installing them. They were actually pretty hard to install the cloud mounts into the back of the foam because we had to apply quite a bit of pressure. So I'm glad he was able to help me with that. But we were able to mount them successfully using Sweetwater's recommendations for using like picture hanging wire and then hanging them from a hook. So we did that, and I think they look pretty good. Once we got them up there and level, I think they look perfect and they don't shift around, they don't move. And oh my gosh, I immediately noticed a difference in the sound. Like, I realized there's still echo in here, but it is not even as close to as bad as it was on the last episode that I recorded in this room, because it was really echoey on that one. But just putting those 2 panels up on the ceiling, which was all that I could afford because those things are rather expensive. It's like a few $100s for one of those panels. It's crazy. Even though I could just afford 2 of them, I noticed a noticeable difference with just those 2 on the ceiling. It's not perfect. I know that I could always get more, but man, that's a good start. And I am so happy about that. Another thing that I have never had before is a bass trap. So Auralex sells these gorgeous purple bass traps. So I got 4 of them to get started with. These are also rather expensive, but this is something I really wanted to invest in. And I was able to hang these with some Velcroed 3M command strips on the back. So they seem to be holding really, really firmly, and I don't think they are gonna go anywhere. So I'm testing these front 2, which are basically directly across from my studio. Sookie, be nice to the cat. Good girl. I am also going to hang these two as well tomorrow, assuming that the 3M command strips do stay intact overnight on the 2 base traps that I was able to mount. You will see me use the same Velcro strips for these, assuming that the other ones worked. So I'll hang both of these up tomorrow. I think that vent is a little bit too high for me to do that one the same way, so I'm probably going to have to switch it around and hang it between the wall and the ceiling horizontally. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. Yay! Woohoo! Base traps! Also, this has nothing to do with the studio, but I wanted to show you we finally have a bathroom down here. I know it's such a simple little thing, but yay, we have running water. It works, look. Hooray! I'm so excited. I mean, this is personally something I was excited about, having a bathroom so close to the studio, because it can be really easy for me to freshen up my hair and makeup, which I do have to do every time I record. So I was really happy to have, you know, running water and just have this accessible so close to my studio. I picked out this mirror from Kirkland's, which is a home decor store. Absolutely love that store. I am obsessed. And I also got this light from Lowe's, and I thought that light looked really cool and industrial. Wow, my hair is so poofy today. It's insane, but I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. So I think that's about it as far as just wrapping up what has happened so far. Next up, we're going to be moving all of the furniture and all of the components and the decor and everything down here. I'm gonna be painting my studio wall, so you're gonna see which color I choose for my back wall. I also purchased some new lights, so you're gonna see those lights, colored lights that are going to go on the back wall, which are going to bounce off of that purple color really interestingly. I can't wait to see it. And I think I'm gonna do a time lapse, but don't quote me on that. So hopefully it looks good, but we'll see. We'll see how much battery life I can get out of my camera. Okay, so this is something cool I can also show you this week. This is my Lutron Cassetta wireless switch. So I say wireless because even though this is wired in the back, and you can see me installing it here, which I gotta say, it's really easy to install one of these. All you have to do is turn off the power at your breaker, whichever circuit powers your specific outlet. Make sure that it's turned off, of course, so you don't spark yourself. Cassetta does come with how-to or quick start guides in the box, so it's really easy to connect all the wires on the back of this and then cover them up with that little twisty thing that you stick on the end of wires, and you're good to go. So I definitely recommend testing it before you actually screw it back on with the little faceplate. But once it's ready to go, you can just stick it back in there. It works just like a regular switch would. It's the same exact size, so any base plate will fit around it, and it looks really good. So I have this connected to, you probably saw these recessed lights around the entire studio. These are actually temperature set LED lights. And I say temperature because they do come with a few different options set inside of them. So I'm gonna turn off the light. Look at that, they dim. Amazing. So these recessed LEDs, they can be popped out of the ceiling at any time. And if I feel like they're too yellow or too blue, I can turn it up all the way up to like 5500K or turn it down into the 2000 range. I think I currently have them set to 3500K, which I feel like is a happy medium. That's not too yellow to feel uncomfortable for a studio and make white balancing hard, but it's also not too blue to make me look like a ghost. Yeah, they say daylight, but I like somewhere in the middle. So when I turn these on using that, they immediately flip back on, and you can see how beautiful our studio looks with all of the new recessed LED lights in. So given that I don't have my new networking rack set up quite yet, I can't set these up on the wireless yet, but all of the Cassetta Lutron switches are wirelessly compatible. So I can set those up with an application on my phone, so I can turn them on or off at any time from anywhere in the house. And I can control them with my Google Home, which is the best part. I love being able to talk to the ones upstairs in my house because we have Cassetta upstairs as well. I just tell my Google Home, turn on master bedroom light to 50%, and then it turns it on to 50%. It's the coolest freaking thing, and I highly recommend them. They're so nice. So these will also be connected to wireless through my IoT network, not the internal network, absolutely not, so that I can control them from my Google Home. And I just love that convenience. I think it's really cool, and you can still put it on an IoT network, and you can put your Google Home on a network, because you always got to think about security as well. I'm recording this snippet at a separate time just to say thank you to my 4 different product sponsors for the brand new studio. While I am currently in my bedroom studio up here, I did want to say thank you to them, even though I'm not technically moved down to the basement studio as of yet. So everything that I have received from my product sponsors are still in the boxes, but you will see those later on in this series. So first up, I wanted to say a huge thank you to Alienware for providing the 2 brand new monitors that I am going to be using at my streaming/editing desk. Both of these are brand new 34-inch widescreen monitors. Having 2 widescreen monitors is something that I have been looking forward to for a very long time, so I was very appreciative to Alienware when they said, sure, we can absolutely do that. So thank you so much to Alienware. I also wanted to say a huge thank you to Uplift Desk for providing my brand new desk for my studio. So this is also going to be a part of my editing station, of course, and this is a sitting standing desk. So it's height adjustable, so I can sit there or I can stand there and be able to do all of my work. I am a standing desk convert. I used to just sit at my desks 24/7, and since I've always had these kind of jobs where I'm sitting at a desk for hours, that's definitely not good for my health. I love having a standing desk, and especially one like this, which is bamboo on top, so it looks really beautiful, and it's also 72 inches, so it's huge. It's gonna have plenty of space for those 2 widescreen monitors from Alienware. My 3rd product sponsor for the brand new studio that is happening down in my basement is Lutron, who provided the Cassetta wireless dimmer switches. I actually have a few of these switches in the rest of my house, so I already had a hub, but I did want to get some of these switches for downstairs in my studio. And last but definitely not least is Ubiquiti and Amplify. So Ubiquiti is amazing, and I've used their products for years in the Hack 5 warehouse, the Hack 5 studio, so I already know how to use their products, but they make networking equipment. So I actually purchased a new rack, a networking rack. It's a 15U rack, so pretty small one, but big enough for what I'm going to use it for. And I also have a Ubiquiti Dream Machine Pro to go in there. I have a brand new Amplify Alien for wireless network connection down there. I have a whole bunch of Wi-Fi 6 APs to connect. I have security cameras that Ubiquiti has provided. So my entire studio is going to be all networked out with Ubiquiti equipment, and I can't wait to build my rack. That's going to be a whole nother video that you're going to see on this channel. So those are my product sponsors, and again, thank you so much to each and every one of them. You are going to be seeing them in future videos once I do have all of my equipment unboxed and downstairs in the basement. So I am going to be doing a full tour, and I am going to be doing reviews of all these different products as well. Did I mention I also got a hammock to go under my Uplift desk? Because I did. I figured why not. All right, I'm gonna go back to the basement for the rest of this video, and I will see you in the next one. So I think that wraps up today's episode. Thank you again so much to my sponsors, and thank you to my patrons for supporting me, because if it was not for Patreon, and if it was not for the Threatwire Alliance and my Morse Code patrons, there's no way I could have been able to do this. So it's because of y'all that I'm able to put this all together and make it as efficient as possible so that I can keep on making videos for you. So I'm gonna go. I'm absolutely exhausted. I feel like this next week is going to be a very, very hard, physically excessive week. So I'm going to go ahead and rest up, have some dinner, and just sit on the couch and watch some Archer for a little while. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.